and welcome to Monday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic. And I can tell you now, this is probably going to be a very long video. So if you only like short videos, click off now. This is not going to be for you. Today, I'm going to take on one of these puzzles that has established, I suppose, a reputation in the Sudoku world. It's called Unique Japanese Sum Sudoku, and it's by Tesseralis. And I forget how many times we've had this recommended to us, but it's a lot. And every single email recommending this says the same thing. It's basically one of the most extraordinary compositions that exists in the universe. And it is very hard and it needs to be seen. Well, yeah. I hope I will be able to do this justice. I've read the rules. They are ludicrous. Absolutely. You can see in the grid there are no clues. There are no clues. All we know is this is a Japanese Sum Sudoku. I'll explain what that is in a moment. And we know all the clues are different. And that apparently is enough. So I looked it up on Logic Masters Germany. Of course, it's got 5 stars out of 5 for difficulty. It's got a 99% approval rating. And all of the comments are, I managed to solve this, after 3 days of bashing my head against it. It's the most extraordinary puzzle I've ever solved. So this could be a very, very seriously long video. For that, I apologise, but I will just do my best. To be honest, what I hope I'll be able to do is solve it. Now, it is still school holidays, so it is possible if this is a really lengthy video, I'll get interrupted. But I actually intended to start recording this earlier on today, but I got distracted by a phone call from Mark and various other things. So I'm recording it slightly later than I was hoping to. Anyway, that's all by the by. Let me talk to you about some things before we get cracking with the puzzle. I'm going to give a shout out to Stephen, who wrote us an extraordinary email yesterday. Stephen had a heart attack on the 27th of August. But I mean, and the email was about the sort of, what then happened. He was rushed to hospital in an ambulance. The hospital he was taken to didn't have the proper cardiac equipment, so he then had to be rushed to another hospital 100 miles away, on the way to which the ambulance hit a deer, and luckily didn't derail the ambulance's trip. Anyway, Stephen has now been released from hospital. And he's on the mend and getting better every day. And he apparently couldn't watch Cracking the Cryptic while he was in hospital. And that sounds like it was one of his major regrets. So, Stephen, we're delighted to hear you're on the mend. And, keep fighting the good fight and keep cracking. And thank you for writing to us as well. It is nice to hear stories with a happy ending, especially if you ever watch the news. Next, I'm going to give a shout out to Peg. Now, Peg also goes by the name on the channel of Boo Boo, and she has been, the most astonishing supporter to Mark and to me. Peg, thank you so much again. You are literally, you're probably 1 in a billion. Just an incredible person, an incredibly generous person, an incredibly kind person. And we are lucky to know you. So Peg, thank you. Next, I want to share with you. Mark and I were looking at some channel statistics. We keep an eye on channel statistics. They're sort of important to work out what the algorithm likes, what the algorithm doesn't like. And I came across one statistic about the channel, which bowled us both over. And Mark said, well, you have to mention that in a video. And I said, well, will people find that interesting? Mark thought that you would. So here is a stat for you. Our biggest video is called The Sudoku with Only 4 Given Digits. It features a puzzle by Ard van de Wetering, the Dutch setter. And that video has been watched something like 8 or 9 million times. But in terms of the number of human hours that have been spent watching that video, it is well over 1 billion hours. 1 billion hours. I think Mark did a calculation, and it's getting on for, that would be the same as 2,000 people who live an average life being born and watching that video non-stop till the day they die. I mean, it's 1 billion hours of watch time on a video. I mean, it's staggering. It's staggering. So anyway, it blew our minds. So let us know if you think that's a big number or a small number. We thought it was a big number. Over on Patreon, of course, we've got our new Sudoku hunt. Do check it out. We're getting lots and lots of entries every day. The feedback seems to be great, so it's a lot of fun. And we think it's probably a little harder than last month's, but certainly not monstrous. So approachable for everyone. If you do get stuck, go over to the Discord server and check out the Patreon chat, and you'll be good to go. And then I've got some birthday announcements. So Finola, you turned 30 today. And I know this because your boyfriend Matthias wrote to us over there in Germany. You've been watching the channel for 4 years and you've been going out for 5 years. And apparently you're having chocolate apple cake today, which does sound nice. So I'll give you that Finola. Enjoy your birthday and have a great cake. Next to, I think it's going to be Cura Era Luna Campling. Could that be right? From your friend Palfly. And apparently Palfly got to meet you in person last year after 3 years of the two of you conversing over the internet. And it was among the best times of Palfly's life, which sounds fantastic, doesn't it? And you might be meeting again next year in the Netherlands, which I think is where Cura is from. So happy birthday, Cura. And that was a lovely message from Palfly as well. Next, and not a birthday, but Lexi and Jack, it is your 3rd anniversary, and the anniversary is 1 year since your engagement, so many congratulations on that. I think you both watched the channel, and, well, it sounds like a good excuse for cake, doesn't it? So, check that out. Have a cake, and have a good day. Now, on a very bizarrely hot day in the UK, I'm going to settle in and apply my mind to Unique Japanese Sum Sudoku by Tesseralis. I'll put my hands on the keyboard and read you the rules. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So in this 9x9 grid, we've got to put the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, column and 3x3 box. Japanese sums. Shade some cells in the grid such that the clues outside the grid indicate the sums of the contiguous runs of shaded cells found in that row or column. Multiple runs in the same row or column must be separated by at least one unshaded cell. So what's this saying? What's a contiguous run of digits? Well, that means cells are contiguous if they sort of share an edge. It's a bit like an orthogonal connection. So let's have a look at this clue. I think what we're being told here, so say we worked out that this number was, I don't know, a 15, and it was those two cells that had to add up to 15. Then, before whatever this number is, let's say this was 16, there would have to be a break of at least one cell. It could be more than one cell, and then you'd have a series of cells that would add up to this number, and then you'd have a break, and then you'd have a cell which would be whatever this was. So that's how Japanese sums work. You basically, you have to put a break between each clue, if you like. Multiple runs in the same row or column must be separated by at least one unshaded cell. Now this is where it breaks your mind, because it says each caged cell represents a unique positive number. A question mark can represent any positive number. Right, okay. Right, so the cages are all different numbers in the grid. Whereas I think actually what the question marks are being used for is presumably these are repeats of some cage number. So imagine that was an 8. Then one of these question marks could be an 8, but none of the other caged cells could be an 8, is how I think that clue is meant to work. Let's reset my clock. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video. I know this is going to be a very hard puzzle, so maybe if you're brand new to variant Sudoku, you might be better to just watch the video. Let's see. The way to play is click link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Oh, what are the dots? Oh, did I even read that out? Digits joined by a white dot are consecutive. Okay, so those digits have to be consecutive. I'm sorry if I didn't read those out. I might not have done. I think I might have elided over that line in the middle of the middle of the instruction. So if this square is a 2, this square has to be either 1, which is consecutive with 2, or 3, which is consecutive with 2. Nothing too complicated there. Now, I can at least see how to start this puzzle, which is something of a surprise. But look, there are 5 clued cells in row 1, each of which must be separated by, well, I can't remember whether it uses shaded or unshaded, but I'm going to make green cells equivalent to the cages, and I'm going to make grey cells the gaps. So you can see that this top row has got to be of this sort of, it's got to be that, hasn't it? Because we have to have a separator between each clue. So these clues are a number of single-digit clues. Now, I've spotted something else as a result of that. This is really I quite like this already. And I'm sort of surprised that I can actually start the puzzle, because, right, let's imagine that cell is a 2. Just to show you what I'm thinking here. If that cell's a 2, we have to write 2 into there. But now this cell can't be a 2, because then we'd have 2 clues that are the same. So this has to grow. And it doesn't matter what number it is, this has to grow. But that applies to all of these clues. They can't be blocked in by a grey barrier, can they? So each one of these has to grow, I think. That feels right to me, I have to tell you. Right, now what about this clue as well? That's 4. 1, 2, 3. No, that doesn't work. I thought this was going to get forced because we've got grey here. So if that was grey, then it would be forced, because you have to have a separator. Bobbins. Okay, that's not right then. Well, unsurprisingly, it's got hard, hasn't it? Immediately. And this line of clues is 3 clues. And at the moment, we've got 5 green cells. So these green cells have to join up in some way. So if they joined up, they could join up, or they could join up. Right, so all we actually know no, and what I was about to say is not even true either. I was trying to think about how this sequence was going to actually be arranged, and I can obviously see that we could join 2 green cells up in a whole variety of ways across the row. That's certainly one possible. Well, it's got to happen somewhere. But then you could have a run of 5, I think. You could have a run of 5, and then these 2 could be separated, and that would give us 3 here. Or you could have 2 runs of 3, and you'd have 1 left over. So is it... yeah, okay. So I haven't got my head around this yet, but I think it's something to do with how many single cell clues you can have. At the moment, we've got, well, there are 9 Sudoku digits. There's a knowledge bomb for you. There are 9 Sudoku digits. So there can only be 9 single cell clues in this puzzle. And there are 5 in row 1, so there are only 4 other ones. And I'm wondering, So yeah, okay, so if that was shaded, then the 4 other ones would have to be in column 4. So then, yeah, that doesn't work. Wow. Okay, this is very cool already. This doesn't work. Let me explain that slowly. So if we do this, i.e., if this square is grey, now the only way I can have 4 clues in column 4 is to separate them like this. That gives me a grand total of all 9 single-digit entries, which means I cannot have any single-digit entries in row 2 of the grid. But there's no way of splitting this up now. At least I don't think. When I thought about it in my head, I couldn't see a way of doing it. Because these would now have to join up to prevent a single digit. Those have to join up, but I need 3 clues. So I'm going to leave behind a single green that's going to be the 10th green in effect. So that cannot happen. So this square is green, is what we've just learnt. Now, but does that actually really take us forward? I think there's got to be at least 1 single digit clue in this row. So that's the 6th single digit clue when we combine it with row 1. That means I can have a maximum of 3 single digit clues in the column. But do I have to have 3? If this, let me just think about this. If this is sealed off, I've still got to put 3 more clues in this column. Yeah, there's no way of filling this column in without at least 3 single-digit clues. In fact, I think it must be exactly 3 single-digit clues. Because if we had 2 clues that were longer than 1 digit, let's just look at that. You can see you can't fit in. You can't fit in the final clue. It just won't work. So somehow or other, and I don't know how this is arranged, because it could be like this. Somehow or other, in column 4, there are 3 single-digit clues, and that means there's 8 once you include row 1, which means there's 1. Oh, this is very clever. Wow, this is going to actually do it then. So now we can allocate the single-digit clues precisely between row 1, row 2 and column 4. Because I've worked out there must be 3 in this column, and there are 5 here. There's 1 in this row, which means if I can't join this up, because if that's green, these have to have 3 clues in the row, these have to be separated, and that would be 2 single-digit clues. So that has to be a thingy thing. Yeah, and then I can't have a 5, basically, is what we're learning. We can't have a 5. We've got to have 2 3s and a 1. And now this column, we don't know how it's disposed, but we do know it has 3 single-digit totals in it. But we've done 2 rows of the grid, and this is probably the really important thing. Oh no, yes, right. So now I can't have any other single-digit clues in the puzzle, which means that cell cannot have a grey cell beneath it, because that would be a single-digit clue, and there's no room for that, so that has to grow. Well, actually, hang on. Oh, this is so clever. Wow. This is totally forced, this column. Because the corollary of not having any more single-digit clues in the puzzle is that everything is at least 2 greens long, but there are 3 clues in this column. So I can seal that off. I know it's at least 2 greens for the next one, seal that off, and that's 2 greens, which must be forced. That's the only way of filling the column in at all. This is mind-blowing. Now, well, that's there, okay. So that's the only other Apart from here, there's only 2 rows and columns that have 3 cages in them. So we've got the 5 one, the 4 one, 2 3 ones, and then everything else is either a 2 1 or a 1 1. A 1 1. Sounds like a 1 1. Right, okay. So this one is interesting, because if, for example, that was green, then because there's only 1 clue in this row, you'd have to join those up. Oh, here's a point. That can't be green, because it would be a single digit clue in this row, and that we know none of those can exist. Yeah, that didn't do anything. The same must be true here though, mustn't it? That cannot be green, or it would be a single digit clue, so that's shaded in. So in this column, you've got this run of digits, which could be 3, we don't know how long this is, and one of these is full up, because it can't be a single digit total, and the other one is going to be 2 grey cells. God, blimey, what on earth am I meant to do now? I'm reasonably happy with the start though, in the sense that we could start the puzzle. That feels... Oh, I thought I was going to be able to get a green in this column. Is that right or is that wrong? I don't think I can quite do it. I know anything in this column is at least 2 long. So if that was grey, what does that mean? Then we'd have to go 2 here, blank 2 there, which is okay. So we can't... I don't think I can do anything in that column. Wow. I have no idea what to even think about now. I suppose it must be column 4, mustn't it? There must be a way that I can allocate this. What is that? I don't know. It's more powerful if that's green. That's going to make all of those green. Is there a reason they can't all be green? Actually, might be a reason that can't be grey. Because what I'm seeing there is if I do make that grey, I have to make this whole column grey. But then all of these can't be single digits. So we might end up... Oh, no, that doesn't work. Yeah, that's right. That's clear. Right, that's not grey. Because if that's grey, I have to grey all of these. But none of these can be single-digit totals horizontally. So they'd all have to grow, and that's going to give me more than 2 clues in column 9. So that's wrong. So that's definitely green. But the problem is I don't think that does anything, really. Okay, I suppose, can't I just extrapolate that to there then? If that was grey, I'm going to get greys all down there, and that's going to break the world as well in exactly the same fashion. So that's green. That's green as well. Again, I'm just double checking this because it seems a strange logic. But again, if I fill all those in with grey. Oh. Well, it is right, but there's a point I've missed, actually. This clue is a question mark clue. So it is possible that this can be a single-digit total. So imagine that's grey and that's grey. Ordinarily, we'd say, no, that can't be right, because this is a single-digit clue, and we know there's no more of those. But because that's a question mark, it could be a repeated single-digit clue. But it still wouldn't matter because we'd get out of trouble here because this is definitely that. So that if that's grey, that's forced to come this way. And again, because these would be grey as well, and these are both real, we would have a problem in this column. So I think I can make this green. But I think I can also, I can keep going down here. The same logic is still going to be valid here. If that's grey, that's real, so it has to extend. These would be grey, so these have to extend. So that's green. Yeah, and now it doesn't. Now it breaks, doesn't it? Because if I make that grey and seal these off, these could both extend. And that would give us only 2 clues because these don't now have to be green. Well, that was still quite good. Ah, right, okay. And now that cell horizontally can't be a single digit clue, so that's got to extend. I've had another idea. Right, let me think about this. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Right. There are 8 2-cell clues in this puzzle. Maximum. So we haven't found them yet exactly, but we know approximately where the numbers 1 to 9 appear. The numbers 1 to 9 appear in these squares, 3 of those squares, and that square. They are the digits 1 to 9. Now that means that any 2-digit clue that corresponds with a cage can't be 2 digits adding up to like 7 or something like that, because that's not going to work. We're going to have a repeated clue. So the 2-digit clues, which can't add up to more than 17, because there can't be more than 8 and 9 in them, there are only a maximum of 8. So there's the 10, there's the 11, there's the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. When I did that on my hands, I got 8 clues. So I'm just going to do it again now. 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yeah. So that means, well, okay, let's just flag where we know there are 2-digit clues. And the thing is, see, what I'm wondering, I can see how I could create a lot of 2-digit clues in column. If I made that grey, I'm creating 3 2-digit clues. I've already got 3 2-digit clues here. I think I've got to have another 2-digit clue in column 2, probably. No, that's not true. I could do a 3 dot and then a 3, and that would work. I don't know, this might not be the way to go. I'm just going to flag up my my definite 2-digit clues that correspond to cages. So if I made this cell grey, all of these would be grey. Actually, there might be a different point here. Because 1, 2, 3, that's 6. 6 2-digit clues. If that was grey, you'd have 7, 8 2-digit clues. Oh, that's interesting. Hang on, I've had another thought. My thoughts are flitting around here. Is it true to say that there is a 2-digit clue in one of these at least? I think it is, because whichever one is this clue, it's either corresponding to this gap or this gap. But we can't leave a 1 vertically because all the single-digit totals have gone. So this is a 2-digit clue, and it's in one of those 2 positions. So if we did have a grey here, you can't have a grey here. That would have to be green, or you'd have 9 2-digit clues. But okay, let me go back to my other thought, because there's nothing, I don't think there's an intrinsic problem with that. The other thought I just had is that if I do make this grey, I've then got great swathes of grey coming down the grid like this. Oh, that... Well, does that work or does it not work? No, that can't work. That's right. Well, it can't work. It's a bit weird, right? But it is definitely true that it doesn't work. Let me... In fact, I think we can do this by focusing on these two strings of digits, or strings of entries. So if we make this grey, because there's only one green clue, that's over here somewhere. So all of these are grey. But in these columns now, look at this column and this column, we've put our greens in, so all of these have to be grey. And the reason this is a problem is that these two clues here, wherever they go and whatever their composition is... Oh, that's not true actually. Well, yeah, no, it is true. I was suddenly thinking about the question marks here and whether I could get out of jail with the question marks. But I can't. I can't. And so what I'm thinking is whenever I've got to put some greens in here. Each green I put in is at least a 2-cell sequence. So where am I going to put a 2-cell sequence such that it doesn't correspond to a horizontal single-digit clue? And I don't think I can do it. So, for example, if I make this green, that's going to be at least a 2-cell clue, and now that is a single-digit total, because it's framed in. That doesn't work. So that can't be green. If I make that green, that's still a single-digit total. And now there's not enough room for 2 clues that must be at least too long. So it doesn't work. It's quite complicated. And it might not do anything for us, but it does prove that this square is green. But I think that logic is going to go further. I think that logic's going to go further, because what I've actually just proved is much more than just about this cell, isn't it? What we've proved is this cell can't be grey, because if that cell's grey, all of those are grey, and I get exactly the same. I get this sort of stela, is that the correct word for one of those upright pillars at Stonehenge? It's something like that. I get a stela, which can't exist in the puzzle, so that cell cannot be grey, and therefore that cell's green, and now this clue has to have loads of green in it. There we go. So this row 3 is full of a lot of green. Well, no, this is great. This is still great. I was about to say it doesn't do anything, and it doesn't really. But it does, I think, tell me the composition of column 4 now. Because I've got 3... Well, after this, I've got 3 more clues to put in. Yes, it's done. So that's got to be shaded. Then the 3 clues go like this, and then we do this, and we are... And now I'm going to change tack and look horizontally here. This one's in... Oh, no, it is interesting. It can't be a single digit, but I don't know which way it grows into. That's a shame. It's the same logic with this one. Bobbins, right. Oh, that's a shame. Okay. So I now know exactly where the 9 single-digit clues are. They're there, there, and there. Let's make those all blue or something. So we're just reminding ourselves that these are the single-digit clues, and that's all we can have in the puzzle. What on earth do we do now? What a construction, though, this is. I mean, how do you have the ideas to make this sort of thing? It's just extraordinary. The inventiveness of the setters, it will never cease to amaze me. I've got nothing. I've got nothing here. I don't know what to do. I think all my pressure on 2-digit numbers has dissolved, hasn't it? Because, well, I've got 1, 2, 3. That's all. And I can have 8 of those. I know there's one in this, that's 4. I know there's one in that column as well, so that's 4. I've got 4 approximately. Is that one? Ah, no, hang on, I've got another one. There you go, 5. So there's sort of a shadow one down here. That's a 5th one. It's either there or there, but I don't know where. I don't know which of those it's in. So I've got 5. I can have 3 more. I mean, I've not got a clue what to do now. I'm sorry if sorry if you can see what I'm meant to do here. I don't think there's any point thinking about numbers. I think what this puzzle is going to require is basically a perfect shading, and then we'll think about numbers. Golly, I'm sorry, I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. I'm staring at this thinking there must be something. Right, okay, there's one thing I've just thought. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure what this does yet. Well, no, actually I can see one thing it does. Right, so this is where I want to look. This is growing because it's not a single digit clue. I've no idea how. Well, actually I do have an idea how it's growing now. It's growing in one direction, isn't it? So it's sort of this is a Harry Styles clue, because it can't grow in both directions. This is the thing I've spotted. If it grew in both directions, then these 2 clues would both go all the way down the grid, because there can only be one contiguous string in each column. And that would mean both of these clues would be the same number, and that number would be a secret, but it's something I'm very happy to share with you. They would both have to be a 45. Because that's the secret. That is the complete sum of digits in a column of a Sudoku. So that's not going to work. Yet, because this grows in one direction, on the other side there is a grey, and one of these is 45. Which means no other complete column or row in this puzzle is fully green. And that, I think, allows me to make that cell grey. I know it's a tiny deduction, but if that cell was green, this column would be completely green, and that can't exist in this puzzle now. So that is grey. This clue extends one way or t'other way, and we don't know how long it is. Now that cell, by the same token, oh, this is great. No, this is really important, because now this cell has to be grey. Oh, that would be a 45 clue, and that's big because this can't be a single digit horizontal clue. So that's got to grow, and now this can't be a single digit clue, so that has to grow, and that is another, well, it's another 2 2s, because that's a 2 and that's a 2, and all of a sudden I'm getting quite interested in my 2s. Oh, now in this column it's got some contiguous sequence here, don't know how long it is, and this one, so those 2 are both grey. Oh, this is magical. Right, now, oh, there's a part of me that wants to connect all the greens up, but that's not a requirement, is it? That is a requirement of some Japanese sum type puzzles. Can't remember, like, you know, where you have to make sure none of the digits are sort of in their own little area. So we could have said that was green, but I don't read that in the rules of this puzzle. So anyway, let's now revisit the count of reds. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, but that counts the other one I found in. So I've actually only improved by 1. Oh, that's miserable. Okay, I thought that was going to be much more powerful. Oh, sorry. Okay. Oh, well, we got on a bit of a run there that was quite exciting for a moment or two. And now we've unfortunately, we've become a cropper again. Oh no! Hang on, how many have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6. So I can have 2 more. So, oh no, it doesn't work. I was about to say that cell would give us our final 2, and that's not true, because that one corresponds to a question mark, which could therefore repeat one of the other red strips. Right, row 3 can't be a 45. Yeah, because we can't make both of those green, because that will make that a 45 and mimic one of these two. One of these, at least, is grey. One of those 2 cells I've got highlighted, at least, is grey. Possibly both of them. And whichever one is grey is going to give me another 2, look. That's quite cool, isn't it? So there is there's sort of a shadow grey, or shadow 2 in one of those positions. And that gets me up to 1, 2, so it's 7 now, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One of these is 7. So there's only one more. There's only one more thingy. Now, can we work out where that thingy is? I don't know. Oh, it's so harsh, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know how to do that. Maybe a way of doing it, but I don't know what that way is. Okay. It would be massively powerful if we can find the 8th one. I've noticed that column 2 then would have to be 2 3s. It's the only way you can divide it up. If it couldn't have a 2 in it, it would have to be 2 3s, and we would know what it was, how it was composed. So that would be absolutely massive. So how do we do this? This feels like a very natural next step, actually. How do we do this? Is there more jiggery-pokery we can do with the fact we know one of these is 45? So one of these is going all the way down the grid. I can't see how to do that. If we made this grey, then this would be grey, that would be a 2. We'd have to have a 2 down here, so that would be all of the 2s in the puzzle, so that would have to be green. Question mark. I was just wondering then, because I have done puzzles before where question marks can be anything, including nothing. But actually here, question mark, it does say can represent any positive number. So the question marks do have to correspond to a clue. So this clue is this, or wherever it goes. That clue, we don't know. Sorry, I'm not sure what to do. As you're no doubt spotting. Is it worth revisiting this column then, given that we know there can't be two cell clues in this column? So this column has 7. Yeah, so it's either 3 blank 3 or it's 2 blank 3 in some order. So I want to say, I'm not sure if this is right, but I want to say that that cell has to be green. Because if that cell wasn't green, yeah, that doesn't work. If that cell's grey, then this column, which can't have single-digit clues in it, would have to be 2 blank 2. But that's going to give us too many 2s, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it would give us 9 2s. So that's definitely green. And does that mean that's definitely green as well? I think it does. If that's, otherwise we'd have 2 greys here, and it's the same logic. So that's definitely green. But that corresponds to a question mark, and that's useless. And that corresponds to a question mark, and that's useless. So that logic has got us precisely nothing, which is very mean. Indeed. What on earth am I meant to do here? I mean, really, what on earth? I have not got a clue. I'm not even sure where I'm meant to look here. I don't have a feel for where the weakness is in the puzzle. I can see that, for example, if I could work out this was a 2-cell clue, maybe I've got to think about that. One of these is grey, and whichever one it is, well, maybe it's better to think about which way the green could flow down the grid. If that's a flowing green sequence, is that in any way troubling the world? I don't think so. I'm not sure if that's a flowing green sequence. I don't think there's a problem with that either. Wow. This one, 2, no. Well, okay, down here, if we were to seal this off with a grey, then whatever's below that would have to be at least a 3-cell sequence, wouldn't it? Because it couldn't be a 2-cell sequence, because they would all have been used up. So these would both turn green. And if that extends to here and that goes grey, that's always green. But because that's a question mark, oh, hang on, that question mark. Actually, this might be worth thinking about. I was about to abandon this, but I am going to give this a bit more thought. So my question is, can that cell be grey? That's the question I want to ask. And if that cell's grey, this clearly can't be green, or it's a single cell clue, so that would be grey. And then how do we fill this column? Given we can't fill it with 2 2s. We can't fill it, can we? We can't fill it with 2 2s because we have too many red strips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Yeah, we'd have 9. That doesn't work. Right, and the reason I think that's interesting is that this cell now, I think, has to join up with this. Because this clue is clearly part of this question mark. It's on the left-hand side of this. So this has to be a contiguous sequence. So that becomes green. Now this column, that becomes green. Now this row, these have to become green. Oh, now this is really fabulous. So now in this column, all of these become green. Problem is that's taken loads of pressure off the world. I was hoping to create some pressure in this middle section that would force another two-cell sequence, but I haven't managed to do it, I don't think. Does that, well, it does mean this is more likely to be the 45. So if this is now the 45, all of those turn green. That would be grey. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Bother. Oh, so that's such a pity. That's such a pity. I thought we were on a sort of a cruising run there. Okay, so we need to think harder again. Then we could do what could we do instead of that logic? We could. I don't know. I don't know. There's probably some configuration around this column that would cause too many 2's to exist in it. I mean, if that's grey, all of those turn grey. And that would then, if all of these turn grey, that would be grey. So that would be grey, this would be grey, all of these would be grey, and I get a single digit total. Oh, okay. Hang on, how did I start with that idea? What did I do then to make that work? I think I started off with, can this be grey, didn't I? That was where I started off. Oh, this is big. This is big if this is right. Right, so can this be grey? I'm going to go through this more slowly. So if this is grey, we can see in this column, or this row, gosh, I'm even confusing rows and columns now. These two are the two clues. So all of these turn grey. Let's do this slowly. Now this clue can never reach the bottom of the grid, which means this clue does reach the bottom of the grid. And we know that this is grey. All of these are grey. And we know all of these are grey. And now I can't remember why I thought this broke, but I did think this broke. Yeah, no, it does break. No, it does break. It breaks on this vertically, doesn't it? Yeah, because what we've got to avoid, remember, is this being a one-cell clue. But it is now forced to be a one-cell clue because there's no more, all of these turn grey. And then we've got our two clues in row 9, so that's got to be grey. And now this is a one-cell clue. So right, so okay, so this doesn't work. We know this is green, but I think there's an easier way of understanding this. I think I've just got to think about it a bit more clearly. What we're actually saying, I think, yeah, it's something to do with the way that this column unwinds, isn't it? If I make, because it applies, I think if I make this cell grey, if I make this cell grey, all of those are grey, all of those are grey, and I get exactly the same effect. So that has to be green. We already know this has to be green from the work I just did, so I will make that green. But I still think there's more. I think there's more we can get from this part of the grid over here. This, all of those are now green. Oh, what's this clue? We don't know because it's a question mark. Bother. Well, what would happen if this square now was green? Then the counting thing here would be a single cell, wouldn't it? So that has to be a grey cell, which actually we could have got from this column. And this is massive now, because now in this column I have another red stripe. There, that's a red stripe. So that's all the red stripes. We don't know where the last one is. It's in one of these two. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one of the yellows is 8. So there are no other 2-digit clues in this puzzle, which means... I don't know what it means. It means nothing. No. Oh, no, I know what it means. It means that column 2 is now resolved. Because column 2 can't have any 2-digit clues. So we worked out earlier that has to be a 3 and then that beneath it. There we go. So we've done a bit more. Now this row is now that's full, isn't it? Because we've had our 2 clues. So that's grey, which means all of these are grey. This, oh no, it's a question mark. Bother. So this could be a 1-cell clue. This could be grey. That would make both of those grey. Oh, I don't know. I've got... Oh, no, come on. No, I was about to say that can't be green, but that's not true because it's a question mark clue in the horizontal direction. What an extraordinary thing this is. Oh, hang on. Hang on. This has to join up, doesn't it? Yeah, that's this clue is that. So this clue is this. So that has to join up, and that gives us a whole column full of things in this column. So now we know this can't be green, or that is also a whole column full of things. So that's grey. This is grey. I bet we have to think about 3s next, you know, because I've noticed there are a lot of 3s I'm suddenly seeing in this grid. Another one there. I don't know. All right, let's change tack then. Let's have a think about 3s. So 3s, what do we know about those? Well, this is interesting because we have now found 8 2-cell clues, which means none of the 3-cell clues now is allowed to add up to, say, 15. And the highest a 3-cell clue could add up to would be a 7, 8, 9, adding up to 24. So there are 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18. There are 7. There are 7 3-cell clues that you can have in this puzzle as a maximum. So there may be... now we have to pick a colour, don't we, for our 3-cell clues. What should we use? Should we use purple, or is that... I really want to use blue, actually. I feel like I want to use blue, so I'm going to change the colour of the 1-cell clues outside the grid. We'll make the 1-cell clues fluorescent green, and now I feel better about using blue inside the grid. So we want to try and highlight all of the 3-cell clues. There's one here I've seen, one here, none. This one is one. That is corresponding to that, isn't it? 1, 2, 3. None in that row. None in this row. None in this row. Oh, here we go. It's not going to be good, is it? Is that one? There's one down here. Is that... Oh, there's one here. There's one here. Right, the columns maybe. I've got already quite a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've already got 6. I only got room for one more. Is that... There's one here. 7. I've now probably broken the puzzle. Well, hang on. Hang on. Have I got this wrong? 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There are 7, and I think I found them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The reason I'm just pausing is that we do seem to be core rate on blue 3-cell totals. Now that, if that's right, seems to me to have an implication for this square, doesn't it? Because that, if this was green, that would be a 3-cell clue, which now can't exist in the puzzle. So that's grey, which converts that into a 2-cell clue. Ah, whoopsie, I want to make this one a 2-cell clue now, which is a red clue. And now this can't be a red clue, because otherwise I think we've got too many red clues. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 at the moment. We're only allowed 8. So that can't be. So that's green. But we know this can't be a 3-cell clue because they're used up. So that's got to be green. Now, I know that's a question mark, so I haven't broken it. I've got this. Right, this is a real clue, whether it's 4 or 5 long. And this is a real clue, whether it's 4 or 5 long. What about this then? So that's, right, that's a real clue, whether it's 4 or 5 long. And it's enormous in the column, so... Wow. Wow, okay, so we can get rid of our yellow here, and we now know, this is amazing, we now know the exact disposition of all of the single cells, all of the 2s, all of the 3s, the 45, I mean, we know weird things now. We know weird things like, I know that digit and that digit are different. And that's because if these were the same, imagine they were both 1, well, that would be a 44, and that would be a 44, and that wouldn't work. So how long does it take me? It's taken me an hour to get to here. Good grief. So what do we do now? Do we turn our attention to one of the blues? Has to be 7, 8, 9. But that's just a horrible thing to think about. Oh. What's so the minimum 3-digit total in this puzzle is 18. Yeah, okay, so you can't put 7, 8, 9 in those, I don't think. Because if you did, yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, the way to think about this is to look at these 3 squares, I think. These 3 squares, imagine they were a 1, 2, 3 triple. That's the least they could be. That's 6. Which means the maximum I can make these add up to is 39. But this is not a free choice. So we've got the principle of restricted choice applying here, because what we can't do is pick any total we want for the blue lines. So I can't make my maximum of 39. I can't make it up from a 24 and a 15, which I ordinarily could do with blue lines, because I could have 15 on a blue line easily, 4, 5, 6. Here, because the minimum a blue line adds up to is 18, the maximum a blue line adds up to is 21 here. So this is made up of 18s, 19s, 20s and 21s. And the minimum that could be is 18 and 19, which is 37, which means that these 3 squares add up to a maximum of 8 to make 45 for the row, and one of these digits is a 1. And that could be a 1, couldn't it? Or could it? Actually, if it's a... Oh, it could be. I was thinking if it's a 1, both of these digits is a 2. And can you have a 2 on a blue line? But you can have a 2 on a blue line. 2 with 8 and 9 is 19, and that's a valid total for this. Ah, this is complicated. Wow. Okay. So... all right. But... Yes. Okay, so the way to look at this is to look at this column as well, which is exactly the same geometrically as this column, this row. It's got 2 blue sequences in it and 3 other digits. So these and these are not select. Yeah, this is lovely. Those 4 blue lines can only be 21s or lower, and 21, 20, 19, and 18. Is all of the numbers that we have available for the blue lines that are 21 or lower. So the other 3 blue lines are the big blue lines. They are 20, so they've all got 9 on them. So these are 22, 23 and 24 in some order, and they all have a 9 on them. So that's not a 9, because there's a 9 vertically. Okay, yes, there's more here, isn't there? Because what we can't do in any one of these is make the pair of blue numbers add up to more than 39. So what are you going to partner the 21 with? The 21 is going to have to partner the 18. It's the only one of its choice, because the 21 can only partner the 18, 19 or 20 in these 4 blue lines. So it'll have to partner the 18, and then the 19 and the 20 will go together and they will add up to 39. And that means that these 3 digits are 1, 2 and 3, and these 3 digits are 1, 2 and 3. And that means that that digit is a digit. We've got a digit. Because that digit has to be consecutive with this digit, but it can't be a 1, 2 or 3. So that's a 4. That's a 3. That is a 2 or a 4. So it's not a 4 because it's in the same box of the Sudoku. So that's a 2. These squares are a 1, 2 pair. Is it me, or do the numbers look like they're standing out more than they used to? I think Sven's been doing some magic by the looks of things. Well, what does this mean? I don't know. That's a 1, 2 pair, so that's got to be a 3. I'm finding it very hard to even think about Sudoku, actually. So this is a 1, 2 pair. This is a 1, 2 pair. 3 is in one of those 3 squares by Sudoku. 2 is in one of those squares by Sudoku. Okay. I was trying to work out what that meant for the green numbers, the bright green numbers. In fact, those bright green, it's too similar to the light green. Let's make those orange. Oh no, maybe purple. Oh, that's much better, yeah. Okay, so purple. So what I was thinking is, where does 3 go in purple? Because this 3, remember, although it's not in a green purple cell, there has to be a 3 in a purple cell, and that one doesn't seem to be able to be 3. So the 3 in the purple cell is in one of these 3 positions, and it can't be there because we know that one adds up to at least 22. So 3 is in one of those 2 positions. But 2 could live here. Otherwise, if 2 is not there, if 2 is not there, then 2 has to be in one of those 2 positions as well, and that would be a 2-3 pair. This is weird. This is weird. So I want to say, if that's true, where's that digit in row 1? Let's make that orange for a moment. That digit corresponds to this clue. So once it's appeared in a purple cell, it can't appear in another purple cell. This digit is not a 1 or a 2 because it's on a line that adds up to at least 22. So it's not that digit. And it can't be in any of those squares because they would then repeat in purple. So that digit has to go in that square, I think. So these digits are the same. That might be worth thinking about, actually, because that digit is at least a 5. Because even if this is minimumed, which it may well not be, the minimum digit you can put on a line that adds up to 22 is a 5, because it would be either 589 or 679. And then the 23 is 689, 27 is 789. So the minimum this is 5. The minimum this is 5. And then the reason that might be worth thinking about is I'm just wondering about those 3 lines. Because those 3 lines, again, the 2 cell lines in this puzzle can't add up to all the normal things that 2 digits could add up to in Sudoku. So often we could have had 2 digits adding up to 8, for example. Here, they're adding up to at least 10. So here, we've got at least 10, 11, 12 down there, which is 33. 33 and 5 is 38. That does nothing. Okay. Sorry, I thought that might do something, but unfortunately it doesn't. We've nearly got a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 triple in this box, because those squares have to be from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by Sudoku, because 1, 2, 3 and 4 have gone for, I'm just going to pencil them out that in. I wouldn't normally do that, but I'm just seeing in this box I've got 4 of the high digits in those 4 squares. No, see, that could be a low digit. Oh, my phone's buzzing. That's fine, not a problem. Wow, okay. So what on earth do we do now? Do I have any ideas? No, is the short answer. Yeah. Could we? Oh, bobbins, I don't know. Well, where on earth am I meant to look now? don't know. I mean, I felt this already twice at least in this puzzle, where I just have no feel for what it is I'm meant to be looking at. Can I keep looking at the purples. I'm trying to understand the relationship between these purples, and this square. They are all different numbers. Can we do anything with that? Is the next question that we're going to ask ourselves. That digit. No, I don't think I can. I'm not sure. Hang on. Where does that digit? Yeah, okay, that's right. That's interesting. That's weird. I should have seen this earlier. It's totally obvious once you think about it. Where does that digit go? So let's give this digit its own colour. Oh, hang on, green. So this digit, it's clearly a single digit. It goes in a Sudoku cell. But which green digit is it? By which I mean which one? Actually, I mean which purple digit is it? And it sees all of those purple digits, so it's none of those. And it sees all of these purple digits, so it's none of those. So the only purple digit this can actually be is that one, which is a 1 or a 2. So that's a 1 or a 2. And it's not a 2, so that's a 1. So that's a 1. And that's a 2. That's weird. So that's a 1. 1, right. Where is 1? In this box now, and it's in the same positions as 2 and 3. Good grief. So 4 is in one of those two positions. So 4 is in one of those three positions. And that does what exactly? What do we know about red lines? Red lines, the minimum they can be is 10. Oh, that's absolutely fine. What's the most they can be is 17. That's absolutely fine. What about that one then? That one is that's in the same column as a line that adds up to at least 22. What's 22, 32, 13? 13's the maximum for that. That line's under a tiny bit of pressure. Because if we look at this column as a whole, these three digits are on the 9 line, which we know adds up to 22, 23 or 24. So let's say it's 22, so the least it could be. Let's minimise the greys, which could be a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. That's 10. So 10 plus 32 plus 22 is 32, which means the maximum these can be is 13. So that one, I'm actually going to put that in. Can I put that in? 13. That's its maximum value. Which must be the same logic then in that row, isn't it? Because that's a 9 line, there's 4 greys again. So again, the minimum for the greys is 10, the minimum for that, so the maximum for that is 13 as well. So 13, so these two are at most 13. So 13, 12, 11, 10, there are 4 red lines that could be 13 or lower. I'm looking to see if I can think of any way of doing that better, but 14, 15. Okay, what about this column then? If this column didn't have two of the red lines that added up to that added up to 13 or less, then the minimum two of these lines would add up to would be 14 and 15. And 14, 15 plus 10 is 39. Isn't it? And then if that was true, then these three digits would add up to 6, and that's plainly impossible because this is at least a 5 on its own. Right, so in this column, two of the three red lines add up to 13 or lower, which means that we've found all of the red lines approximately that add up to 13 or lower, and they are that one, and two of these three, which means all of the other red lines add up to at least 14, which is that one, just pausing, I'm just trying to think about whether or not, so that's at least 14. This one and this one are not. One of these has to be at least 14. And two of these have to be... Ah, that's beautiful. Right. So one of these is 14. Because imagine that there was no 14 in we know that both of these two-cell strings add up to at least 14, but they can't repeat. So imagine one of them wasn't 14. Then they would be, say, 15 and 16. But you can't make 4 digits in Sudoku add up to 31. Because the maximum they could be would be 6, 7, 8 and 9, and they only add up to 30. So that means, because we've worked out that two of these, well, because these two are at least 14, one of them must be 14. And that can't be a 4. Because we know that the totals in this column are they are 14 and another number, which is higher than 14. So we can't have 4 here because it would be a maximum of 13 on the line. So that's a 4. This square is high. One of these is 14. One of these is 14. That one is now at least 15. 40. So one of these is 14. The other one can't be more than 16 because otherwise, again, we'd have 4 digits. So it can't be the 17. So the 17 is not in this column. So the 17 is either here or here. So if the 17 is here, we've got to add 2. So 10, 11 and 17 is 28, isn't it? Yes. 28 would mean these squares have to add up to 7 at most, and they can't, because even if that's a 5, adding a 1 and a 2 together, that's 8. So it doesn't work. So you can't put the 17 in column 8. So the 17 is in column 4 as Maverick comes to fly past to celebrate Tesseralis' brilliance. This is an 8-9 pair out of absolutely nowhere. Right, these squares are 5, 6 and 7. This square is now not 8 or 9. And that one's the same as that one. So that's not 8 or 9. That's not that surprising. I think we're getting into a world where this column is getting very constrained, actually. So right, this is 14 and either 15 or 16. How do I show that? We could do 1 and then 5 or 6. Right, that's my attempt. And I don't know which way up it is. I don't know where the 14 is. And I don't know whether 15 or 16 is, but I do know that that's what's going on. This is the 17. This is a maximum. It doesn't rule out anything of worth here. I could still have 8 on it. And this column has a big digit. The big digit, the one that's not this one, so the one that's either 15 or 16 is not that one. So it's one of these two, is 15 or 16. And we know that so let's say it was a minimum. Let's say there was a 15 here. So 15 with 10 and 11 is 36, which means the maximum size of those 3 digits is 9. Which means these squares are from 1, 2 and 3. Because they can't have 4 on them. Go with at least 5, because the other digit would have to be a 0, and that gives me a 1, 2, 3 triple in the column. Better than that, this can't be a 2, 3 pair, because that again, once added to 5, would give us too many. So there is a 1 in one of those, which means that's not a 1. Can this be... This can't be a 5 now, can it? Patently not. This is adding up to at least 10. So it also can't be a 6. One of these is a 1. Oh, this is getting very complicated now. So this column either has... It's definitely got a 15 or a 16 in it. Can it have a 16 in it? If it had a 16 in it with 10, 11, that's 27. We need 8. Yeah, we can with 1, 2, 5. I think we're running out of road with this sort of thinking. Let me just ponder this for a second or two. What are these digits then? If we know that, yeah, these digits include lots of low numbers, don't they? Yeah, this is either minimumed. So imagine this was 14 and 16. That would be 30, which means these would have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Or this is 14 and 15, which means we've got 16 left for the column, and these would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So these 5 squares always include 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1 of 5 and 6. And in fact, it's going to be the 1 of 5 and 6 that's not used in the 14 total, because 14 is always either 5, 9 or 6, 8. Which means that 7 is always in either the 15 total or the 6, well, if it was 16, it would be 7, 9. So it's either going to be a 7, 9 or it's going to be a 7, 8 in the 2-cell total that adds up to 15 or 16 in the column, but we don't know where that goes. Can't put 7 into this square anymore, because these would add up to at least 10, and we said that they had a maximum value of 9. Let me double check that. So the minimum would be a 15, a 10 and 11. That's 36. Yeah, 9 is the maximum. That's not 7. this one here. So that's not 7. So this is now from 7, 8, 9, these two squares. The other thought, actually, here's another thought. This is definitely not the 7, 8, 9, is it? So the 7, 8, 9 is either here. Where I can go there. Oh no, I thought maybe that was going to be clever. No, I thought we were going to get that this was the 7, 8, 9. Because if that's 7, 8, 9, that's 7 or 8, but it can go with 5 or 6 and make a number that's as low as 13. Maybe that's the next question, is where does the 13 is probably here. Can it go here? If that's 13, couldn't have 9 in it, so it'd be 8, 5 or 6, 7. And then that would go with a high total in this column. And what about this? Do we know anything about that? We know that that's either a big number, being a 15 or a 16, or it's probably a very low number. Can you put the 13 in this column? Maybe that's a good question. So if we put the 15, which would be the lowest red total here, for the high red total. So if we put 15 with 13 with 10, we get 20, 38, and that gets 7. We can't make 7. You can't make 7 work. Right, so this might be a profitable line of inquiry. So I'm now asking where the 13 goes. The 13 red. And it's not, I think, in this column. And again, apologies, but I'm going to double check this, because obviously this is sort of logic that if you get it wrong, everything that follows could be completely and utterly bogus. If you put the 13 here, the minimum you could put it with on the other red lines would be 10 and 15. This is 25, 38, which means 7. I can't make these 3 greys add up to 7. It's right. So there is no 13 here. So it's either 12... In fact, does that mean you can't do 12 and 11? That would be interesting. It's the same logic. You can't do 12 and 11. So the 10 is in this column. There is a 10 in this column. How do I do that like that? So I don't know where the 10 goes. It could be here. There is a 10 in this column because you can't have 13. We've got two of the combination 10, 11, 12, and you can't have 11 and 12. 11, 12, 23 plus 15, 38. It's too many. So there is a 10 and either an 11 or a 12. And if it's the 12, then you know you must be partnering that up with the 15. Golly, this is complicated. This is so complicated. I think this might be getting into the realms of being too complicated, actually. Maybe there's bigger wins to be had by focusing on other things. But what? Do we now know? Oh, here's a thought, actually. Didn't I have this thought earlier? Yes, here is a sensible thought. I do know where 2 and 3 are in this column, because 2 and 3 haven't made an appearance in green yet. When I say green, I mean purple. So 2 and 3 haven't made an appearance in purple yet. So where do they appear in purple? They've got to be in this column, and they can't be there, so they are on those 2 squares. That's potentially important, is it? No. Maybe. I don't know. 4. What about 4 in this box? It can't go on a line that's adding up to at least 22. So 4 is really restricted, actually. 4 is in one of those two. One. What about just plain old 1 in this box? In fact, what about the bottom row's maths full stop? What's the minimum value of this? This can't be 10 now, can it? Because we know 10 is in this column. So it's at least 11, this. So this is 11 plus 22 is 33, which means the maximum value of this is 12, which means it does have a 1 and a 2 in it. And the 1 is... Oh, Bobbin's face. Botheration. The 1 is in one of those, but we don't know where. The 2 could be anywhere. I don't even know how to pencil mark this. I know these have a maximum value of 12. Is there any way I can improve upon that? 12... I don't know. Sorry. I know that some of you will have spotted lots of things here that I'm not seeing. And I'll be frustrating you. I'm frustrating myself a bit, but this is not that easy, I don't think. 1 in column 6 is very restricted. It's only got 2 positions. It can't go on this line, which is adding up to something, but it's at least 10. It's not 10, it's at least 11, isn't it? Is this line, do we know? Yeah, we know. Well, yeah, we know that this line was capped out at 13 by the fact that this line is in column 6. So that digit can't be a 1, but it could be a 4. So 1 is in one of those 2 cells. I bet it's going to be here. That would give me a 4. That would give me a 4 here. If that's 1 on the other hand, then 1 is nearly getting onto the dot down here, which is exactly where you'd want it to be, because then you'd know it would have to partner a 2. I don't know. Sorry. I'm not sure how to think about this best. We could... I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know where to look. Do we have to go back to thinking about reds again? I don't relish that. I couldn't really see my way... I couldn't really see how to think about that clearly. Oh, sorry, I knocked the microphone. One of the... Actually, I'm going to move that. It's rocking about. Like, I don't think it should rock like that, really. Don't know. It is rocking about a bit. Why is it doing that? It might just be overlapping a bit with my mouse mat. Hang on a sec. That's better. There we go. It was on the edge of my mouse mat, which made things awful. Okay, so let's think about this. We could... I know I've got 10 here, and 11 or 12, and 15 or 16. 14 is definitely here. If that's 14, it's 6, 8 or 5, 9. It's going to partner up with this. These can therefore not include 5 and 6, which would put 5 or 6 here, which is fine, isn't it? That line needs to add up to one of the lower of the 3-digit totals. In fact, oh no, that could still... Oh, I don't believe it. That could still be 8 or 9. That could still add up to 21, I think, if that one adds up to 18. And that can still add up to 18 if that's 7 with 5, 6. Oh no, right, that doesn't work. golly, that's very complicated. Right, that's not 8 or 9, I've just spotted. Because if it is, that's adding up to 21, which means this has to add up to 18. And the only way you can make those 3 digits add up to 18 is with 7, 5, 6, and that breaks this square. So, this is not 8 or 9. So this is low. There is an 8 or a 9 on this line. I don't think that does anything. I might be wrong, but I don't think that does anything. And that was, well, that came from starting to think about where 14 went. If 14 goes down there, 5, 9 or 6, 8 at the bottom, some number across here which we don't know, some number vertically here which we don't know. If you put the high number of these here, this can't be the high number again. Maybe that's a way to think about it. So if this is, we know there's one high number in there. When I say high, I mean well, it's either 15 or 16, isn't it? That's all that's left from the high numbers. On the red lines. So if this was 15 or 16, this one couldn't also be 15 or 16 because that would make these add up to 31 and there's only 4 cells. So if this is the high number, if that's 15 or 16, that is 14. I'm just going to think about that. If that's 7, 9, then that would have to be 14, would be 6, 8. That would be an 8. That would be something. 14. If this is 16, that's got to add up to... Oh, that doesn't work. That's the first little thing we've had in a while that actually hasn't worked. I don't think that works. So my thinking there is that if I make this high, it's 15 or 16. So I just tried it with 16. That has to be 14. That's definitely right, isn't it? It can't be 15. That's definitely right. So that's 14. But now this total, which has to be the 15 total, because we haven't had that. But you can't make 15 in a domino without using 6 or 8, because you either need it to be 7, 8 or 6, 9. So that doesn't actually work. So that means that if this is high, this has to be 15, but the problem is there's 2 ways of doing that, so it's actually going to get a bit saucy. 15, let's try it with 6. Well, it's not 6, 9. Yeah, that's interesting. It's not 6, 9, because again, this has to be the 14, and he can't make 14 now, so that's not 6, 8 or 5, 9. So this is right. So there's only one way this works. If this is where the high digit goes, it's only one way it works. That's 7, 8. And then this is 5, 9, because it can't be 8, 6 now. And now, well, now hang on. Where's my 16 going? Hang on. Well, do I need 16? Oh, I'm getting confused. I'm getting confused now, I think. So if I go 15 here, I go 7, 8. This has to be 14, because it can't be 7, 9. It can't be the 16. These would add up to more than 30. So we have to go 14 here. And then we haven't had 16 now. So this has to be 16. But it can't be 16. It just doesn't work, I don't think. I'm just feeling that that's not... it felt logical what I just did, but I'm not 100% sure I believe it. There's just something nagging me about that I've not thought that through as purely as I would like to think I have. I'm just going to think about it again, just in my brain. So that's the place I do my thinking. Occasionally when my brain plays ball. So I do know I've got to put a 15 or a 16. I know the 17 isn't available. I know the 14 isn't available. So there is a 15 or a 16 in this column. I put the 16 at the bottom. I put the 16 at the bottom. I've got to put the 14 there. So it would be 7, 9, 6, 8. You can't make 15 work. Do I have to make 15 work? If I put the 16 at the bottom, I do have to. There doesn't seem to be a way of doing it. I'm struggling to see clearly in my brain. I mean, it breaks when you work through the combinations, but I feel like there's just a point here that's just eluding me that would sort of make me go, definitively it's just bonkers to even think this way, that this could work. I can't make it work. So I think we have proved that this is not. So we've proved this is the high number in this column, which means this is 11 or 12. Now, does that do anything, though? That's the other terrifying thought. So if this is adding up to 15 or 16, it's obviously from high numbers. Well, that's right. No, okay, so I have missed something here, because this has now become obvious to me. Hang on. Was this always obvious? I have a horrible feeling this was always obvious. Oh no, you silly man. You silly Billy. What I'm seeing here is that you can never make this 6. Because if you make this 6, you've got a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple in this column. And there is no way I can make that domino add up to a double-digit number, because it would be made up of a maximum of 5 and 4. But surely that's been the case forever, hasn't it? That's been a 5 forever. For the last 20 minutes, that's been a 5 on that logic. Because this column always had, this is the way to think about it. This column always had a high total in it, which was a 15 or 16. We didn't know what it was, but we knew that wherever that happened, it would be selected from 6, 7, 8, and 9. And once you add it to that digit, that's created a sort of 3 of the 4 high digits. And if this was the 4th, the other 2-cell domino, wherever it was in the column, could not add up to enough. So forever, that's been a 5. That's appalling of me. I just didn't see that. I didn't see it in that way. But that is a really, really pretty. The thing I think is brilliant about that is if that is where I was meant to go next, that is completely and utterly reasonable. Doing this faffing about down here felt very difficult to me, whereas that being a 5 feels very, very sensible. And that means I get a oh, this is massive, you know. This is massive for a very good reason, because I know this line adds up to at least 22, so I know what it is now. It is 22. So that, oh, hang on, I'm gonna have to do this by jiggery pokery. That is a 22. Now what does that mean? I don't know yet, but that feels like a breakthrough. This is a 5. These squares I'm definitely labelling from 6, 7, 8, 9. We're not going to be proud about it. 4, 6, and 7 into these squares by Sudoku. Now, so these lines now are quite interesting because they no longer have 5 on them. Which is huge, isn't it? I can see what that's doing. because one of these lines is 6, 8, 9, the other is 7, 8, 9, and therefore look, we get a quadruple in this column, and that digit is forced to be a 5, which has come from nowhere. Now I've got a 6, 7 being knocked out of this square. We've got, what are we left with here? 1, 4 pair in column 6. I don't know what this means yet, but I'm more excited than I was, because I feel like we've made a bit of a breakthrough there. Goodness me, Maverick, you don't have to do loop the loops just outside my window. Okay, so what does this mean? Do we know the total for this one? No, we don't, do we? Although, yeah, hang on, we know both of these lines have 8 and 9 on them, because they're either 6, 8, 9 or 7, 8, 9, so that's not 8 or 9. So this line is now 11 or 12, but doesn't that go with the 11 or 12? If this is massive, because that's going to, I know where the 13's going to go. Woo, come on. Let's just think about this. This line is 11 or 12, and I think I worked out that this combination down here had to have 11 or 12. It can't have the 13. It just can't, because these digits are going to add up to do much. 13, 10, and 15 is 38. That's too many. Yeah. So this is 11 or 12. There's an 11 or 12 somewhere here. So this one can't be 11 or 12, and it can't be 10, which we know is in this column, so that is 13, and therefore this is adding up to 13. It doesn't involve 9 or 8, so that is a 6, 7 pair. And now, oh, I felt like I might have broken the world there. No, it's okay, isn't it? Isn't this square a naked single now? Because I haven't put 4 in this column, so it seems to have to go there, which means that's not 4 anymore, which seems to place 4 in this box according to what we did earlier, which means this square's a 1. 4 is in one of those squares. This could be the 10. I don't believe it. That digit, this domino, is adding up to at least 14. So that's a high number. That's got to be a 9 or 8, doesn't it? So that, right, okay. Right, this is great. This is great, because now these do add up to 30, which means these squares are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and surely I now know that this is a 16 in this column. I don't know where it goes, but because these are all high numbers, that is right. I couldn't have put 7 here. The max, if I don't put 8 or 9 here, is 5 is the next digit, and this is not adding up to at least 14. So these are 6, 7, 8, 9. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one of these is 14. So one of these is 16, and we can take the 5 out. So in fact, we can probably show that like that, but we don't. What we don't know is which way up this goes, because that could still be 7, 9 at the bottom. But now we know that this column contains 15, and we know that's not 15 and that's not 15. So this is 15. So this is 15. So these two virtually add up to 15 then. That must be true. Yeah, look, these are high numbers. They add up to 15, so these add up to 15, because the 4 high numbers add up to 30. And if that's a 6 or a 7, that isn't, definitely, that's not a 7. So this is 9 or 8. There's a 9-8 pair in the row, so these are not 9s and 8s. So this is now a 6-7 pair. But hang on. That's now a 5 by Sudoku. And we've got to make sure these add up to the right combinations, don't we? What I'm worried about is, yeah, this can't be 6, 7, 9, because that would add up to 22, and that would mimic this one. So that's 6, 7, 8, which means that's a 9 in the corner. And this can't add up to 15, because 15 is in this column. So this adds up to 16. This is 8. This is 6. This is 7. This adds up to 11. So 11 goes in here. This, therefore, must add up to 10. It can't add up to 11, or it would repeat. So that's a 2. And this is now, look at this, 8, 7 come out. This is 6, 9, adding up to, you've guessed it, 15. 2 comes out of these squares. 4 comes out of this square. And this is a 6 by Sudoku. And this is a 9, and this is an 8. And 9 comes out of these squares. And we're still going. We're still in with a chance of solving the puzzle. Right. And hang on. Didn't I just find an 11? So that's not a 6. That's got to be a 7. Which means this is not a 7. Or a 6, apparently. So that's an 8 or an... So this is the right. So this is 7, 8, 9 now, apparently. That felt a bit weird. Yeah, no, that's right. Because one of these had 6, 8, 9. One of these had 7, 8, 9. Once we prove this is 7, we know which way round this goes. So this one is 23. This one, which is that one, is 24. And I'm going to get rid of the 9 corner mark there because it's irritating me. I'm going to get rid of the 9 corner mark there. We don't need that anymore. Probably famous last words, but that's no longer an 8 by Sudoku. And we can take 7 out of these squares, so this square's become a 7. So 7 is up here somewhere. You can't put 3 on this dot because it couldn't go with 4, so it would have to go with 2, and that will break that square. So 3 is in one of those 2 squares. That means this square's a 1. Which means this square's a 3, knocking 3 out of all of these squares. That hasn't got 1 in it anymore, or 3, because of the 3 here. So this is right down to 2 or 5. Okay, so where's 3 in this column? It seems to have to be there. Okay, we'll take that. Okay, this is jolly exciting now. That is not 13, that's 12. Because that's what that adds up to. This row needs 1, 2, and 3 in it. And that's not a 1. Didn't we say there was a 1 in one of those earlier? I think we did, yeah. I think I worked out. In fact, we now know that these add up to 10. So, okay, so this is clear. Oh, this is a 1 on the dot. Okay, so that's a 2, that's a 3, that's a 2. That's no longer a 3. This is no longer a 2 by Sudoku. And that probably does something. There's still an opportunity for a 3 in the corner. That is 22. That is 13. Oh, okay, so this square is 6, 8, or 9. It's not 6, so that's 8 or 9. So 6 is now in here, which means that's not 6, so that's 8 or 9. It's an 8, 9 pair in box 5, which means these squares are 5 and something. 3 and 5. Oh, not resolved though. Not resolved, I'm afraid. Okay. Okay, let's take stock. We've got a 21 here. Okay, that's going to go in the wrong order if we do that, so we have to do it like that. So this is a 21. So we know this should be an 18, and it is, which we can do like that. Because we know they were adding up to 39. We know that is a 1 now. We don't know that one, or that one. We know that's 4, that's 9. This is 17, that's correct. That's 2, that's 3, that's 5. don't know what that one is. But remember, right at the beginning, I noticed those two couldn't be the same number. Because if they are, if that's a 3, that's adding up to 42, and that's adding up to 42. So this is a 2, which means that it's a no! It didn't do it. It doesn't understand. That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, proving its position. Yes, it didn't. I don't think the software understands that this is well, that is a 3 in the corner. Rotten thing. That's one of the hardest earned 3 in the corners. Oh, look, this has got 3 on a white dot, so it's from 2, 3, and 4. That's not 2. Oh no, I thought I'd seen something else then, but I haven't. Okay. Look, 2 is in those squares, so they are from 2, 4, and 7, and that means these squares are from 1, 5, and 6, and that is not a 1, and that's not a 5, and that is not a 1, so this is the 1. Okay. So at some point we need to work out what these two are, don't we? Now, what have we got? We've used 18, 21, so this is 19 and 20 in some order. And that's quite big. Can that be 2? 2, 6? No, that doesn't add up to enough. That's definitely not 2. Oh, it's not 2 by Sudoku either. That would be a simpler way of doing that. But that could be 4 with 6 and 9. That would be 19, and that's a legitimate total. That's not a 1 because of this. There is a 3, 4, 5 triple in this row. So everything else is high. 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's not 6 or 9 by Sudoku. Oh, 6, 9 pair here. So that's an 8. Sorry, that's very, very doable. So that fixes some digits. Look. Keep going now. Keep going. That's a 7. Wow, come on. There's a 5, 6 pair here, so that's become a 9. That's become a 6. That 2 means that's a 5. That's a 4. So we get a 1, 2 pair over here, which is resolved. That's now a 5 by Sudoku. That does the 5 and the 3. That plonks a 3 up here. So this square is 2 or 4. It doesn't seem to be able to be 2. So that's 4, which means that's 4, that's 6, that's 6, that's 9. We might be getting there here. This is really exciting for me. This is now an 8, 9 pair. Still haven't finished the shading, actually. That is a weird point. That is a weird point, actually. I'm going to think about that in a moment. Let me just try and do a bit more. That's got to be a 3. And that's got to be a something, a 9. Imagine if I do this now and I get the wrong, we get a clash or something. I would just cry. 2, 5, 6 along here. I don't think we can do it. 2, 5, 6. I'm not sure. That's not 5. That's not 2. But that one. There is a 5, 6 pair now here. And an 8, 9 pair, actually. So that must be from 4. I don't believe it. That's from 4 or 7, but both seem to work. No, that doesn't work. Oh, no. Come on. Come on. Apply yourself with some measure of seriousness, man. This is important. Oh, let's check the question marks, actually. That question mark is 13. Yeah, well, we've definitely had a 13. It was there. Look, it actually mirrors. So that one, I totally understand why that's a jolly naughty digit. That one is a 4. Yeah, that can't exist. That one, well, it's either 6 or 7, which we've definitely had as single-digit totals. And this one is, well, we know what it is. It's 13, isn't it? Which we've definitely, yeah, that's down there again. So I do understand all the question marks. All right, Okay, so what do we do now? How are we going to resolve this? Oh, look, this is horrible as well. Because these triples are identical in the sense that we've got the same digits, and one of them is 19, one of them is 20. So it's going to be like 758, isn't it? Yeah, 758 and 964. But we don't know the order. So how is that going to get resolved then? Oh, there's a 4 looking at that one. No, that doesn't do it. Oh dear. Okay, so maybe... I don't know. I don't know what I'm meant to do now. Is it going to be... Is it going to be the other... Oh, I tell you, that's probably what it is. It's going to be the other totals in the grid, isn't it? Because, yes, okay, that's a sensible thought. For example, this must not... Oh, no. Oh, it's okay. It's okay by the skin of its teeth. It adds up to 25. So it doesn't duplicate. So that's a 25 total here. I'm going to give that its own line. That's so impressive. That is a 25. So actually we should write this in as well. That is a 25. Okay. So I see. Look, this is where I look next. If this wasn't green, this would add up to what looks to me like 24. So that's got to be green. And that takes this up to 26, which is fine, because we just had 25, we didn't have 26. So that's 26. Right, we need another sort of short string that could add up to a naughty number. Where is it? Is it here? Is it that one? It might be that one. I'm just staring to try and spot which of the other lines I've not looked at yet. If this... Oh yeah, this must be green, because surely that can't add up to enough to be interesting. I mean, they add up to 10. So yeah, if this was grey, this is adding up to 18 or 19, which we've definitely had. So that is green. And now it's adding up. Now this is adding up to a known number, isn't it? It's adding up to 27, which we haven't had. This is incredible, because this has clearly, even now, we're seeing how carefully that this has been put together. Because to get 25, 26, and now exactly 27 there, that is totally deliberate by the constructor. That's weird. That is weird. Right. Okay, so... But does this actually do anything for us? Probably does somehow. We've had some other massive totals as well, look. We know this total, I'm going to put it in, is 45. This total is 44, so we have to do that like that. This total is 42, which we'll have to do in our hybrid way. 42. This total is 40. This is unbelievable. It's just... the intricacies here are just frightening. So what have we not? We've not done this one. But I think this is going to be too big, isn't it, to be interesting? I mean, because the outies here are either adding up to 10 or 8. So we're either looking at a 35 total or a 37 total. But they're not duplicated, to my knowledge, in the puzzle. So I don't think that's going to tell me what this digit is. We know it's a 3 with a 5 or a 7, but we don't know which way round. Imagine if I'm stuck now. I will... Oh my goodness me, this just doesn't bear thinking about. 4 is not there, I've just noticed, so we can get rid of 4 from this square. So in this column, what do we need? We need 2, 6, 7, 8, 9. That can't be 2, so it's 6, 7 or 9 into this square. And this must be 4, 6, 8, 9, I want to say. Can't I find some way of eliminating these squares somehow? I don't know. I don't see it. There probably is a way to do it. With these, we don't know. We know what they are in total. So it must be this column, which is a terrifying thought. I don't see... It feels like I've not done enough here to resolve this to me, because that's... Unless it's something to do, maybe a better way to think about it, just to think about the outies and what they sum to. So we're at we're at 10 here, which gives me 35 minus these squares. Yeah, okay. So if that's 4, oh, that's really clever. Oh, it is. This is how to do it. It's to use column 1. I don't believe it. This is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So what I'm noticing, I think this is right, is if I make this 4, then whether I partner that up with 5 or 6, I'm deducting 20 or 19 from 45, and I'm getting 25 or 26. Well, I've had 26, I've had 25, so I cannot do that. So this has got to be a 2, which means that's a 7 and that's a 4. And that's going to trickle through everything, I think. And in fact, can we make this 6 now even? Doesn't that work? That's going to give me a 27. Haven't I had a 27 here? I think I have. I think I have. I mean, I'm taking my time, because the maths of it, if I make one little error, it's going to completely break the puzzle. But we're at 12. If we take the 6, we're at 18. That gives me 27, which apparently I've had. So I think I have to take the 5, which means... Now this adds up to 28, I believe. Yeah, and 28 is not a number I think I've written in the edges. So now this square here is a 6, this is a 5. We know we need a 20. Well, we can do some other things now, actually. That's a 6 and that's a 2. 7 comes out of these 2 squares. So 6 in this column is at the top, so 6 is not in the corner, which makes that corner square an 8, 6, 9, 9, 8, 6, 7. And that should be a 4, and that's an 8, and that's... I don't believe it. I think I've finished the puzzle. But I don't trust this solution. Let me go through this. That's 20. Let's put it in. That's 20. This is 19. That's exactly what we were hoping for. We've got a 28 here. We can fill these digits in now. That's 8, 6, 7. We need a number in every cage, which we've got. We need a number in all the Sudoku digits, which we've got. I think everything is uniquely determined. I think I did it logically. Let's just double check that we've got... That does add up to the right number, does it? 18, 22, 28. Yeah, it does. That's amazing. That is absolutely extraordinary. Ah, I haven't resolved this. So here, look, I've got 8, so it's 37. That's one of the most astonishing constructions I've ever seen in my life. Let's... Oh, that doesn't quite look right. Puzzle doesn't include solution. Bobbins. Well, that might be because the software doesn't... The software didn't understand that I put 3 in the corner. I've got no way of knowing whether this is right or wrong. What's it trying to do? I can't even see that. So maybe I've just got to... I mean, let me just... study the grid from a Sudoku perspective and see whether I've made any... I sort of do it Thomas Snyder-esque. Am I seeing any obvious repeated digits or missing digits? Sometimes Thomas claimed they would flash in red if you saw repeats. I don't know. I think it's right. I think it's right. That is quite exceptional. What an exceptional puzzle, Tesseralis. One of the longest videos I've ever done on the channel. But I'm so thrilled to get through it. I mean, it was brutally hard, and it didn't take 3 days, but I'm getting on for 3 hours, well, just over 2 hours. Loved it. Now I've finished it, and that will live long in the memory. I mean, tesseralis, just, we should be bowing before you. We will genuflect in recognition of what you've achieved there. That is a quite simply stunning puzzle and a movie-length edition of CTC. I apologise to those of you who don't enjoy the movies. Some of you do. Well, this one hopefully you'll have enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. Let me know if you had a go at this and if you got through it, and if you saw some different logic to me. I'd love to know. I got really stuck in this column, but I think the idea is to just ask where 5 goes in that column, noting that one of the numbers has to be at least 15. I think that just does it. Brilliant. Loved it. We'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.